If you guys want to make more money, I can tell you how, right? Because so many people think it's impossible. Let them keep saying that, because now they're not going to enter the game. But as long as you can say, you know what, it's not impossible. If you're a servant, you're going to stay busy. Like, you're going to do well because you're going to get references. Don't try to negotiate a cheap price, because then if you do, it looks like, were you trying to take advantage of me before? Like, you were willing to do it you can make money at this, but you're going to charge me that. Like, who are you? If the thing that you're doing is very difficult to do, go for it. Because once you figure out how to do that thing, then you're going to be compensated accordingly. There's a lot of talkers, and they're talking forever. It's the same speech. You're like, you still haven't done anything? Like, you understand at this pace, like, it's not happening. So you need to, like, embrace it and set discipline, have accountability, and just get after it.
People try to put us to down. Talking about my generation.
Welcome to the TLT Movement Podcast, a podcast for tomorrow's leaders today. We are here today with Heath Allison, the owner of Allison Tree Company, a local business here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We're at his house right now. I can see the business is doing well. How long have you been in business for?
I've been doing tree service for a little over 20 years, maybe 25 years. But I got started in like this outdoor landscape type lawn thing just as a kid. So it's really morphed from pulling weeds to cutting big trees. So I'll say focused on tree trimming exclusively, a little over 25 years.
Cool.
Like
All right. Well, hey, we got our friend Tiago here. Tiago, you have been working with Heath now for 2 weeks or so, just trying to learn not just the tree business, but business overall. I want to kind of treat this podcast as if I'm an 18-year-old coming out of school, not really knowing what I want to do. And maybe my family has a business that I want to get into. What would you recommend for somebody that is thinking like, I don't know if I want to go to college. I don't know if I want to get into the trades.
Okay. If you think you might want to go to college and you're not sure, I believe there's no harm in spending a year or two and messing with the trades, because you may run to college with joy, or you may say, this ain't bad. So for myself, I would recommend pick 1 to 5 trades, preferably around 5, that you work in for 6 months to a year. And then even if you kind of like it, I'd quit, go to another one. And then after you've done about 1 to 5 of these, let's say, hopefully 5, you'll circle back towards the one that you enjoyed the most, that you learned that maybe you could actually make a run at. And then you want to develop really good skill within that trade, and then start digging deep on how to actually own a company within this trade. That's just a thought, because obviously you don't waste money on a trade school if you're not sure if you're even interested. So working as an apprentice and not making a whole lot of money, but really getting exposed to the contacts within a trade, you learn quite a bit. Like, again, Tiago's only been with me a week and a half, 2 weeks, whatever it is, and he's already getting a good sniff of what the tree business is like. And I would say within a few months, even if he liked it, he could take off and go do something else and always know just a little bit about what I'm about.
How do you think he could transition into doing something else without offending you? Like, let's say you guys created a really great bond,
Right,
and you took him under your wing. How could he transition into something else without?
it's all about expectation. That's how you can avoid offense.
Okay.
And so if he said, hey, Mr. Allison, listen, I'm really enjoying this, but I need to give you a notice. As much as I enjoy this, I want to switch. I've got an uncle that's an electrician, and I'd like to talk to him. I really want to see what he's about. How long do you need me before I could go ahead and begin working with him? Is this something that you need 2 weeks? Do you need a month? But this has nothing to do with you or your business. But you can understand at my age, I really want to just wet my feet in something else, something like that. But again, it's all going to hinge on once you get into it. You know, instead of 6 months, does this last a year and a half because you enjoyed it so much? Does 6 months turn into 6 weeks and you're out of here? Like, this is terrible. Never will I touch this thing. It's just a great way to expose yourself to trades. And then again, you'll sniff out like, what are other guys doing within this industry and what are they making? Like, how do they operate? Because even though we pick a trade like tree service, I have a lot of friends in the tree service that run their business very different than how I run it. So Tiago, I'll try to give him insight how that's happening. But just because you pick a trade, you know, you'll see, oh, well, this guy is an electrician and he only does commercial work. right? Commercial build outs. This guy's an electrician, and he does more just residential, and he works for pool companies, setting up pool pumps or whatever, AC or whatever it is. So you'll get to sniff like within the trade, what is the main focus and how's this guy making money?
What are some more examples of trades? You mentioned electrician. You've mentioned, I guess, tree cutting.
Wait a minute, Tiago, what am I again?
Aber.
Oh,
boy.
gosh.
An arborist.
No, that's not it. That's not it.
I think we should think, how would Jim Carrey say it in The Cable Guy? Remember he had the lisp? He would have said, you're an arborist.
Arborist. Arborist. That's it.
Right. Say it 3 times real fast.
Arborist. It's in there.
All right, so obviously you have anything in the landscape industry. So you have someone that can run a landscape installation company that can then do the maintenance and the irrigation and the tree trimming, and they could do pavers and what have you, pressure cleaning. And then you could have those who deal with construction, new construction. So you have like a guy that does a shell construction and will build out the concrete block shell, and another guy comes in and does the framing, and then you have a roofer set the trusses and the top of the roof, the gutters and all that. And then you can have someone who will have done all the electric and plumbing. These are all trades. Then there's also welders who will do anywhere from underwater welding to fabrication of like high-end fences to structural work for welding, or they may do fix the frame on a car. So there's even within welding, there's so many facets, and you'll find what it is you like to do. So these are some examples of trades. The guy that installed my pool, the guy that dug the hole for that pool lives in a super nice house. And he came out here. He did it. He came out with his track or whatever it was, and he dug the pool, and he loaded his machine. He had a nice little belly, so he was eating fine. And that guy that's digging holes lived in an amazing house. I know where he lives. So it's kind of funny. Some of the guys in the trades, if you find out where they live and how they're doing, you're like, this ain't so bad. And also, you may really enjoy being outside or not being stuck in a cubicle.
Sure.
So for the 18-year-old that's an entrepreneur and looking to do something outside of college, why do you recommend trade work?
Well, good question. It's not that I recommend trade work. I just say consider the trades, and that's only because that's where I come from.
Okay.
So one reason I really appreciate you coming here, Danny and Tiago, is that it's kind of like this is like the small little echo chamber of which I live in, and I have respect for others who want to actually do some type of entrepreneurial work. Can't say that word either. Outside of the trades, and I don't know much about it. You're right. So there's things you can do on the internet or what have you. So again, I'm tunnel visioned within trades, and if it's something you've maybe thought sounded kind of cool and you don't have an idea to do something that's entrepreneurial outside of trades, that's why I'd say consider it. There's not much lost. You end up really appreciating where you're going, or you end up staying with us. So that's not much lost.
Tiago, what's the number one thing that you've learned from Heath in this past week, business, entrepreneurial wise?
The number one thing is it's hard work. It's a lot harder than I imagined it to be, because I came from like an online shop where it's just everything's social media and drop shipping and all this, but trade work, you have your work cut out for you. It makes you feel like a man, but it's a lot harder.
You showed me your hands, and just in this past week there. So you mentioned the guy that dug out your pool and how he lives in a nice house. What is the money range that you can make here in the trades?
Well, what'll happen is that it's like anything. The more barriers to entry, the better you'll get paid, right? So if you pick an industry with which there's not a lot of barriers to entry, let's say it was just simply cutting grass.
You want to explain what barriers to entry is?
Sure. So barriers to entry are your friend. So when people complain about, I can't believe so many permits are required to build whatever, that's a good thing. Or they get upset about the workers' compensation requirements, or they get upset about licensing, or they get upset about DOT just pulled us over yesterday. Honestly, I was upset. I'm like, why? We didn't do anything. But you know what? DOT pulling me over is a good thing, because it will make some guy say, I can't deal with it anymore. Right? And so, goodbye. All right.
It weeds out the people that aren't in it.
Right. And then the expense of the equipment, how difficult it is to find employees. All these things are your friend, because the more barriers to entry there are, especially if the thing that you're doing is very difficult to do, go for it. Because once you figure out how to do that thing, then you're going to be compensated accordingly. And it's not just within the trades that's the truth. That's also the truth within if you want to practice law. If you want to practice law and work for a really big insurance company, and you're going to be in the back office just filing paperwork or whatever you're doing, you're not going to get compensated as much as the guy that decides to go out on his own and generate his own income and generate his own business and look for his own clients and takes a real risk and then will handle very difficult cases. They're both lawyers. And if you're not educated, you're like, lawyer makes this, lawyer makes that. No, it's a bit. And then another guy's going to start his own law firm and have multiple partners. It's the same within medicine. You know, you can have a doctor working at an office as one of 30, or you can have a doctor that has a specialty and has his own office and everyone's seeking this person out, right? Same within the trades. Like for myself as an arborist, so I try to do a little more boutique style trimming, meaning little more detail or danger in the work that we take on and not as much mindless stuff. So you get compensated a little bit better. And that's going to be the same if you are a welder. An underwater welder is going to get paid much more than someone that just tack welds multiple chairs. Okay. So that determines pay. And you'll see that once you get in your industry, you'll start to see the difference of those within the industry. And as you get older and more into it, you'll begin to welcome these barriers to entry.
Something that I've noticed as an entrepreneur is being in this field and not working for somebody else that's setting the prices and negotiating and all this. I find it difficult to know what to charge someone. Right. So at what point when you start a trade and you've gone down this entrepreneurial path, how do you know what to charge somebody at your experience?
Right. Well, a little bit of so that's a good question. You can find out, let's say within my trade, you can know a standard shade tree that's about, 40 feet tall with a, 50-foot spread in a front yard. And you want to do a crown reduction, reduce the height of the entire tree. It's going to be around $2,000, right? So
how do you come to that though?
Well, you can find out by seeing what other people have paid. You could be no good, dirty guy and actually get 5 estimates and then never plan to have it done. That's terrible, right?
That's not good though.
I've not done that, right?
Okay.
You could ask around. Once you're in the industry and you're doing the thing I said and you work for a tree service, I would tell Tiago what the jobs cost, right? Mm-hmm. So now you have a job cost. Now let's start doing some backwards math. There's different ways to get that job done. Are you going to take 8 hours to do it? Are you going to do it in 4 hours? Are you going to do it in 3? Are you going to do that job in 3 hours and have another job run simultaneous 3 streets over, right? How are you going to do your work? So there's some people that are happy to go out and make X, and all they know is they were busy all day with 2 guys or 3 guys. Other people go out and make 3X, and they were also busy with 3 guys because what they did, they kind of manipulated all of the jobs with the volume so that they were able to juggle that. So even once you have a set price within these trades, you can still increase the net income by how you formulate your method to get these jobs done.
And you kind of mentioned that you're in more of a specialty field in that lane, so you can charge a little bit more because not too many people are doing the precise trim and the harder jobs. Right?
Correct, but it's not a simple. So there's a lot of jobs. Okay, last night I was talking to a friend of mine. It's a true story, and wouldn't lie. And he said, hey, I want to remove 4 60-foot canariensis, this big date palm. What would you charge? I said, I would do it for $5,200. He's like, what? He was going to go over $10,000, right? I'm like, you're crazy. So I have a system where we could have done those 4 really fast, right? Mm. And his system, I don't know how long he would have been there. So it's not necessarily that I'm like, well, everyone says X and I'm saying 1.5X because I'm me.
Right.
No, it's because you've generated a system to get things done quicker or different so that you can actually net more and get out of there. And guess who's happy? The customer loves you. So then there's some jobs that are just straight up, I don't want any part of. It is simply trimming 3 dirty sable palms in a backyard over a statue and the pool's nearby and the neighbors always pissed that the dust, I mean, all that, I'll say, you know what, thank you very much, but I'm going to have to pass, right? There's no way to make good profit on that. So you need to be able to generate enough calls that you can decline a lot of the work you don't want. A friend of mine called it pruning out the bad stuff. Like as a tree trimmer, you're pruning bad customers out. So you're looking for a way to politely decline certain jobs because you know the fair price is just not good net. And I don't want to take a job and say, well, I'll make it good net for me and throw a stupid price because that hurts your reputation. So you're not just charging high prices because then you're a jerk. It's being able to charge fair to a little bit higher prices and find a system that gets it done quickly and efficiently. It's the game. That's why I love it. It's the game every day. So a lot of it has to do, that's why I think I've stayed small. I'm still only 5 employees after this many years.
Wow. Because
I've poked my head in the room of larger companies. I've been larger myself, a little bit larger. I'm like, me no likey. Because beyond what I'm doing, there's like a dead space. So I'm at 5, sometimes 6 employees. For me to increase my net income, I would have to more than double my gross. I'm in a sweet spot. If I doubled my gross next year, I would maybe break even on the same net. I need to get triple gross on what I'm currently doing to increase my net.
Wow.
And then now I'm dealing with a lot of headaches.
Right.
Which for some, that's fine because they couldn't live on my net. They don't want my net. They want double, triple my net. They're going to have to go beyond triple my gross. They're going to have to go a multiplier of 5 on my gross to have a net that's worth it. And now that's a beast that I personally, I'm not wired. I don't want any part of. That's another thing is kind of know how you're wired and you can work within those parameters. Push yourself, but don't try to be someone you're not. Because earlier when we talked about trades that have a low barrier to entry, you're a manager of people and equipment. That's what you are.
Right.
The profit is so low, you're managing masses. You're herding cats. And if you are good at that, go for it. I don't like it. In fact, I want to find work in machines that help me actually have less employees. Like I'm wanting to have less. I don't really see how to do that right now with the business I'm in. But if I can find it, I will. Like I want less employees.
So even with 5 employees, though, you still have to do taxes. There's still all these permits. I mean,
yep.
So at what point in your business do you start to stop trying to figure all that legal stuff out on your own and you hire other people on, like an accountant or like someone to, like a lawyer?
Right.
At what point do you do that?
That's a good question. So what would happen is right now I'm able to wear all of these hats and still work 40 to 45 hours a week. And I can continue to do that.
Wow.
So in a single day, I can give 7 or 8 estimates. I can send out 5 or 6 invoices. I can deal with 2 things. Like today, I got an email from someone. Our chipper, when it got dropped off the truck, it rolled into a guy's car, left a tiny little dent, and he wants me to send $1,700 to Gunther Mazda. I'm going to take care of that, right? So things happen, right? Mm-hmm. Another customer called and complained about the neighbor says we cut too much or whatever. I'll put out these fires because we do definitely make mistakes, but I want to make sure I'm holding hands and letting them know, let's get this right. Okay, it's important. I'm not going anywhere just because you pay me. I want to make sure you're happy. And then today, Tiago saw me jump in and do a little bit of cutting. And then I ran a stump grinder. And then I went and met with some people and watched how equipment was operating. And then I have to get things like a tag renewed, or I'm loving meeting you today. So I literally can wear 15 hats in a day and do that day after day. So at this point, I actually enjoy that.
Sure.
I do like it and I can handle it. And I could hire someone to take a lot of this off of me. And I've told Tiago, I could get someone to take a lot of the things I do and I could cut my hours down to 20 per week and still live a pretty good life. But I'm like, nah, I still kind of like the game.
Sure.
So now I hear people constantly in my ear telling me that, come on, you got to let this go. You got to let us do this stuff and scale and hand it off. And I hear them. But at this point, I don't seem to be ready to do that. Like I would rather help them. Like with my kids or friends of my kids, I want to help them get their 5-person business going not grow mine to bring everybody into Allison Tree. I would rather help you for free, get your 5-person business, 5-employee business going, live exactly how I live, right? And then at the end of the day, we'll talk about what your issues are and how to solve them. We'll mastermind. Even if you're not in my industry, we have a lot of crossover, a lot of similar problems.
What do you think sparked that passion to want to be a business consultant to young people?
I don't know. I mean, obviously having kids, 4 of my kids are older, and then getting married and grandkids and all that. I'm like, all right, guys, if you guys want to make more money, I can tell you how, right? I'm not going to make you work for me because then I don't want to hear complaints. But I think that's what it is realizing that what things cost. So when I see what houses cost around here and I see what groceries cost, and everyone wants to say it's impossible for kids, it's not impossible. It's doable. And I know a way to do it within the trades. It's really hard. But there's another barrier to entry because so many people think it's impossible. Let them keep saying that because now they're not going to enter the game. But as long as you can say, you know what, it's not impossible. Mr. Allison and this guy over here, and they're all going to help me figure it out. Yep, hope you could do it. You could have a lot of these things that we watch the older people enjoy. You can get a house. So I don't know. I think that's it. Just seeing people that want to provide and kind of take care of family and have a house is basic all-American things. I just want to see them get there. That's it.
Yeah, that's great, man. In this time that we are in right now, it seems for young people, at least Gen Z, our age, it seems increasingly tough to reach that American dream and to picture buying a house and all this. So I think that's great, man.
No, it's very, very doable. And it makes it even better that so many of your generation and a little bit older they believe the lie that college was the way to go and they had to do it. So I say this all the time. I actually have a bachelor's degree. I finished University of Florida, horticulture, right? And this is going back like 20 something years ago. I wanted to finish because I wanted to say you don't need it. I hang at my garage now to be funny, right? I was saying that over 20 years ago, you don't need it, right? But if I didn't finish, people would have said, oh, you're sour grapes. You quit. No, I didn't quit. It's right there. But I don't need it. It's nice, but I don't need it. And I like being able to say that. So I certainly can say it now because this is not new information. But the fact that so many people thought they needed that piece of paper to do well helps you because less are in the game and they're still dealing with the college debt, right? So it is funny that there's so much traction in what I'm kind of speaking today. This would have been revolutionary however many years ago. But now it's like, bro, we get it. So quick, before all these kids leave college and start being electricians and arborists, get out there and go get a trade job.
With your passion to help all these kids and develop their own tree trimming business, you don't have any fears that it'll take away from your own business?
No, I think Elon Musk was the guy that put out the plans for the Tesla. He's laughing like, go ahead, do it better,
true.
Right? I mean, I literally could tell you right now how to do it and have no fear that you were going to take food from my table, because I've seen it. I'll say this. There are kids I talk to and deal with and try to help, and I'm literally going to be shocked if they pull it off and do it. All I want to do is be the messenger and the facilitator to help. But the ones that actually see it through and make it happen, it's going to be a small percentage because they're literally going to get to the point where things become so difficult and there is the stress. They're going to quit. They're going to get frustrated. That's great. That's great for those that follow through. So no, I have no fear of that because,
What are some of these difficulties and barriers to enter within your industry that just come up on the top of your head?
Okay. Well, certainly you want to acquire the skill to do it, to trim a tree properly without breaking stuff. So that takes a while. Anybody thinks they can go rent or buy a chainsaw, good luck. So that's kind of a thing, obviously. And then the equipment's expensive. And then once you have the equipment and once you have the skill, it is incredibly difficult to get customers. Very difficult. Because if you're going to pay for leads, it's incredibly expensive. I have a friend that's doing that. He's doing it. He's busy, but he's paying dearly for it. So to get really good customers, get good leads, they're very difficult to get. You'll get them, but it's going to come, believe it or not, I believe it still comes through personal relationships, right? You're going to get the best leads that way. You can get superficial leads, which when I got started, I had a lot of superficial leads. They didn't know if I was any good or not. They didn't have a reference. They just saw my ad wherever it was, and I was out competing at one of the 5 competing bids for their work. That wasn't as good a work, but I was doing it, right? And it just takes a long time to build up a reputation, right? So the cost of the equipment, getting the skill, finding the leads is very difficult. And maybe I'm a little all over the map now, but I want to make sure I mention this. I think it's incredibly important. Once you think you're going to make a run at an industry, do not quit your main job. Don't do it. You must come up with a way to work for an employer and let him know you're now shifting to sub 40 hours or 40 tops, and you really need 15 to 20 hours a week to work on your side business, right?
Okay.
A good employer will respect that. And if you have to, get a job that is not in conflict. If you're going to go in the tree business and your employer's like, you ain't doing 20 hours a week of trees, I don't like that. Fine. Go get a job doing something else and start the tree business, right? But do not burn the boats and go straight into this new business, because you're going to put way too much pressure. You're going to end up underbidding things and not doing things right. And you're putting too much pressure on yourself because you saw some Instagram meme that fired you up and said, man, I'm going to do it. Don't do that. It's just stupid, right? And I believe if you don't have kids and you're young, whatever that is, that I don't see why you wouldn't work 55 to 60 hours, right?
Right.
But I believe once you have a family and kids and you want to be at home, that if you consistently work more than plus or minus 45 hours, I'm talking about year after year, you may have times you work more, you're either greedy or stupid, because at some point you need to know there's something wrong with my system here. Why am I still working 60, 70 hours a week? And I've got a 1-year-old that I never see. Like, right. Reevaluate. But right now, it is the absolute best time without a wife, children, to get after it and put serious hours in. So, again, I kind of like jumped around there, but that to me is incredibly important. To get your side hustle going while you have your main bills getting paid by an employer. You're just going to keep learning. So that to me is important. That's just a great way to do it. And you can slowly accumulate this equipment.
There's so many things that you just said that I want to dive into, but I'll start all the way to the first thing that I thought. Let's dive into how to build a good reputation. What have been some key things that you've done in your business that have built it up?
You're going to laugh that, like, really? That's your answer? I'm doing a better job at trying to make sure the customer is happy. You're like, you just figured that out? Bro, you're 51. Here's what I mean. Here's what I mean. So before, we would do a job, and I would cut whatever we cut, and I want to make sure they're happy, but I had less tolerance for if they were being ridiculous. I was like, listen, man, I said I was cutting that hedge to 8 feet. You're clearly asking it to be 7 feet. Do you realize I got to redo the entire thing? Now I might realize, oh, she doesn't know the difference between 8 feet and 7 feet. And we need to spend an extra 30 minutes and redo this hedge. So let me first see if I can let her know why I think 8 feet's better, because it's a better privacy barrier. And we had a reason why we cut it at 8 feet. Let me try that first. But I am certainly willing to cut this hedge at 7 feet now, if that's what's going to make her happy. So I think I was more combative when I was younger. As I've gotten older, I've realized, let's make sure this person is good when I leave. And so that helps a lot. Since I kind of changed my attitude, that helps a lot. And I've got so far to go. Like, I have so far to go with regards to how I treat employees and customers and everything. But I realized, like, oh my gosh, like, I at least know the path now. And it's just this trying to have a servant's heart.
Yes, that's so good.
Versus being right. Because guess what, idiot? You're in the service business, okay? So it has taken me forever, and it's still, like, not quite sinking in. Even though I'm saying this, Tiago may see me tomorrow like, you're such a hypocrite. Dude, you said that crap last night on the podcast. Look how he was so rude to his employee and a customer, or whatever. I'm like, oh, you're so right. So I'm listening, but That's huge. If you're a servant, you're going to stay busy. Like, you're going to do well because you're going to get references. So that to me is like numero uno, right? And then it's not always price. You think, well, if I just give them a good price. No, careful with the price. You may, okay, there's a fly that's been buzzing around here.
Yeah.
We know what attracts flies. So I guess it's me, right? No, you got to be careful when you have low prices because you're a pile of dung that's attracting flies maybe, and you're getting bad customers. Don't just go low to stay. You can't do that. It's better to stick to your guns if you know it's fair. So typically when someone tries to get me to adjust the price, I will say, thank you very much for considering us. It's going to be X dollars because I think that's a fair number. Or I'll do a joke. They'll say, hey, is that your best price? I'll say, no, my best price is higher than this. You want me to go higher? So I'll do the dad jokes, whatever.
Sure.
But honestly, don't try to negotiate a cheap price because then if you do, it looks like, were you trying to take advantage of me before? Like you were willing to do it for, you can make money at this, but you're going to charge me that. Like, who are you? So you have more integrity by sticking to your price. And then also it just kind of shows, wow, this guy's got a high level of confidence in what he does. Like, I think I want this guy. Again, not to everyone, but it's a great filter system to eliminate those who are not a good, because you're looking for returning customers.
Right.
Because if you just attracted a bad, we did a job today. The guy is calling and he's talking again for like almost 15 minutes about something. I'm like, every year, like I can't seem to get this guy happy on this thing. I think I'm gonna let him go. And then I've been working for him for 10 years, right?
Wow.
I think I might let him go. And some of that, sometimes that's weird, but as they say, it's just not working out. And then there's times I realize, dude, like, I did whoever wrong. I need to go back, make that right. So again, we are messing up constantly with regards to, we might break something, we might not cut enough, but if I got a servant's heart when I'm challenged, I hope, like, I admit it. I'm like, well, I'm sorry, let's get it right. So I think that's probably the best way to get return business. It's so basic, right?
It's basic, but it's so true.
Yeah.
It's so awesome. You know, I oftentimes struggle with under evaluating because my mindset's not necessarily that, I don't know, like I definitely don't want to be perceived as I don't believe in my capabilities and all this. I just want to give them a good deal. And so how do you jump that hurdle of wanting to give somebody a good deal? Because you're like, well, I could do it for that amount, especially in this business where, I mean, yes, all this equipment costs a good amount of cash, but for me to record this, it's not really costing me anything right now but my time.
Right.
So in my mind, I'm like, well, I could charge less, sure. How do you jump that to be able to?
Well, it needs to be commensurate with your service. Like, I just have you here because Tiago said, hey, let's bring Danny in. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's do it, right? But imagine you generated this incredible reputation because you did incredible work. Like, your edits were different. You worked harder at the lighting. Like, the sound was something special with this guy. And those who know detail knew it. Do that. That's the kind of tree work I try to do, because then I know, no, you got to get this guy. Because when you become that guy, it is a deal. Because now I'm getting something out of you that it has value. Because if I'm looking to promote my business and some other guy's going to do it for X and you're going to do it for 3X, but your stuff is next level, what do I got to do? Get one more job to pay for you? Bring Danny in. Let's go. Let's use Danny. Be that guy within your trade that you create value. I mean, it's like anything. It could be, I mean, there are barbers that go take care of stars, right? And then there's a barber that, you know, takes care of my son. I'm looking for the cheap one, right?
Sure.
He's 14. Who cares, right? Shave it all. But just kidding, Vance. Anyways, you get the point. It's like generate value, and it becomes a deal for more money, more net, right?
So instead of trying to be a jack of all trades, hone into the thing that I feel I'm the best at, or I'm being told that I'm the best at.
Right.
Become the greatest at that thing.
Yep.
Become the guy that can do that. And then when I charge more, people are like, oh, yeah, of course.
Right. And you see that across the board with so many things. Like, one thing I never get, and I didn't even ask you, so maybe this is good or bad, I don't know. I've always said, I have no tattoos. Dude, if I was going to get a tattoo, like, I hope I got to be on a 1-year waiting list for this guy. Like, it's a freaking tattoo. This guy
Right.
better be so good that he's not sure if he's going to take me in a year.
Right.
Or girl, whoever it is. That's the one I want. But the one that I go, like, look in a window front, and they're there, and they're on their phone, want a tattoo. You can go now, like, no, I don't want that. Like, just lie to me. Charge so much that I'm like, you must be good. And what happened? You had a cancellation? So in other words, be that performer, that there is a deal. It is value. And everyone's happy because you're making way more, and they got true value from you because they're going to watch you blow their business up with the way that you did the lighting, the edits, and everything else. So that's how you get excited within your industry, because you may be within an industry, you're like, man, this ain't going nowhere. I mean, pretty much I cut trees, you know, I glue pipe together. I'm a welder, and it's pretty, no. Find something with your industry that like few people can do. Heard a saying once, it's like, find the fire and run towards the fire. It's like that. Where's the fire? Like, where's people like running from? Go towards it. So I don't know.
That's a good angle to look at. Like with the tattoos, if I were to go want a new tattoo and someone's charging 100 and another person's charging 600, I'm kind of sketched out at the guy charge. Even with trees, if someone's charging $1,500 to cut a tree and someone's charging 300, the guy who's charging 300, he may do the same exact job, but I think that tree's gonna fall on my house because it's only $300.
Right.
Like, that's a good angle to look at business and stuff.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I called a dentist and I was like, when can you fit in? And they were like, we could fit you in today. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I don't know. I got to check with my insurance. And I called someone else and they're like, we could fit you in 2 weeks. And I was like, yes, that's perfect.
Right.
So
I just had that. I went to a dermatologist. It took like 6 months to get the, right?
Man.
And I go in there. It was the most beautiful office. They called me right away. I went in, like, everyone was like so clean and good looking. I'm looking around and I go in, they take care of whatever I had done, and I had a mole taken off. And then they're like, I told the doctor, I'm like, you make me want to have skin problems. Like, this was awesome. Where can I pay? I mean, it was like, I was in there for 8 minutes. It was $500 something. It was awesome. I was like, that was great. Can I come again? So
be
ridiculous.
such a good business that you want to have skin problems.
There you go.
That is so good. That's so funny.
But no, and I was like, how can I give this person a 5-star? And I go to give them a 5-star. They had blown up with over 1,000. They were already at 5-star. That's how they rolled. And I was like, wow. And if it's not an emergency, I'll wait 6 months to a year for something like that, right?
Dude, you just hyped me up. I kind of want to go to this dermatologist now.
Yeah, right, exactly. And then there's like this guy that I do trees for, and he's like a oral cosmetic surgeon. And my mom, bless her heart, had like a tooth break, and then she had to go to a wedding or whatever. And I knew he had a long wait, but he took her right away. So this guy's next level cool in that he's amazing, but he found a way to sneak my mom in, and I'm only the tree guy to him. Like, I'm not like, his tax advisor.
Sure.
But so there's these people that are high level skills that are just super servants. So that to me is like the ultimate person, is be that. So now I'm getting a little preachy, but seriously, be that person. And then God will honor you. Like, you will be blessed, right? And I think the way that God will bless you is he will actually give you a bunch of really bad customers to test you and say, I am blessing you with this. I'm training you. That's how I'm blessing you.
Wow.
And you're taking this, you're taking that. How are you going to deal with it? Because I'd like to know. Maybe he taps the angel, said, look, Heath is going to get this customer now. No, you're not giving Mrs. Johnson. Guys, come here. Look. Heath is getting Mrs. Johnson. No. What's he going to do, Lord? Let's watch. Let's see. Right? So you may get the absolute worst customers. You don't realize that's like the floodgates of blessing about to be poured out if you respond correctly. Or if you don't, let's hold them back a little longer. Let's give Heath Mr. Smith. You know what I'm saying? So don't think I will be blessed. Therefore, name it, claim it. Here come. Where's the money, Lord? Look, just trust him. And then the process will be what it is. But just have faith in that. Just don't look at the immediate metrics. Think long term. Live by faith, not by just sight. Am I getting too preachy?
No, that's really good.
Right.
That is really good. That's exactly what we like to hear on this show.
All right, cool.
This is great.
Yep.
Do you have anything?
Yeah, so for the 18-year-old that is interested in everything that we're talking about and is curious about starting this
Right.
trade, you recommended him go work for an arborist.
Yep. Hey, that was good.
Once he has that down, what's next? He just goes and buys a chainsaw and gets to work?
So once you can talk to your employer and say that, you're thinking about starting your own thing, then you can buy a little bit of equipment. And then maybe you work doing side jobs with bulk pickup or something like that. Try to generate a few customers. And then once you've established you can generate a few reoccurring customers, then you can, again, you're probably not going to find your boss letting you run a pretty medium-sized tree business. It's going to be a conflict. You may need to switch into a different industry to be able to pursue the industry that you've chosen. Mm-hmm. Ideally, it'd be nice to see if you were within that industry and you negotiate or broker a deal with your boss. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing that. I kind of want to see that with even if my kids want to do that, is that if they want to get in the tree business, then I would want them to learn it. And then I would say, are you ready? You ready to start your own? Ready. Good. Start your own. Because I don't want you working for me because you're going to blame me for whatever for the rest of your days. You're going to have your own, and this will be your territory. And for the jobs that I don't want in that area, you can have them. And I'm going to help you manage your tree business. I'm even going to help you get a loan for a truck, whatever it is, and you're going to grow your tree business. And then let's see what happens. And let's find out how you do it better than me. This could be for our own kid. Let's see how you do the tree business better than me. You're going to have ideas. I'm going to hire you. I'm going to sub you out for a lot of the work I don't want to do. Or even if I want to take a break, if I want to take 2 weeks off, I'm hiring your company. You're going to be buried, right? Then let's watch you develop your own tree business, because I know that kid is going to make more money with that tree business and dealing with a lot of things I got to deal with than if he just stayed with me and I had to keep increasing the salary. Because remember, I told you, I looked into the other room and I didn't like it. And I'm not going to be able to afford that salary because honestly, I can hire it for less. So you can't say, hey, Dad, pay me as much as I would make with my own company. No, I can't afford it, and I don't have to. It'd be weird. It'd be like giving you money for something you didn't earn. Go do what I'm doing, and then watch how you get paid. But if you're working for me and you say you can cut, a cutter costs this much. If you say you can help me with emails and running bids, now I can hire a guy to do this. And it ain't what you can make, go doing your own, right? So I'm not going to pay that just because you're my kid. You're not going to feel good with yourself when you put your head on your pillow. But I tell you what, that's how you can be in the same business as your family and feel really good about yourself, because you'll know it's your name on the outside. Yes, you're working together, but it's clearly your employees, your trucks, your customers. You win or lose, you rise or fall. That would be within the same industry. So imagine someone coming to me and wanting to get into a little bit different industry. If I had an employee, I say, hey, man, let me help you with that. Can I expect you Monday through Thursday? You want to work as an electrician on Friday, Saturday? Try to get that going. That's a little more involved because you have some, it's difficult to get certified as an electrician. You're going to have to get years of apprenticeship and get some certifications with that. But there's always a way. And if all the guys want to keep saying there's not a way, let them keep saying it. And just tell them, yep, you're right. But the secret club says there's actually a way to do it. You can be young. In fact, there's a guy that I know. In fact, I was with him today. He owns a small tree company, and he makes amazing money, like really good money. He's got 2 employees. I'm looking at a piece of equipment that he bought and was running it today. I was out there to watch. It was a $50,000 piece of equipment he paid cash for, right? Wow. He's got a $230,000 truck, no, $250,000 truck. He's got another one that's probably $80,000. He's got a $60,000 chipper. He's got another truck that's probably $70,000, and then loaders. He's got all kinds of equipment. A lot of it's just paid for. And He's young. He's under 30 years old. And it's in the tree business, right? And it's not daddy money. Like, he literally works his butt. He'll work 7 days a week on trees, and he's amazing. Like, I can learn a lot from this guy and the skills that he's acquired on climbing techniques. We get together with him and a few other tree guys, and we mastermind. And I want this young guy with me. Super humble, neat guy. It's possible, and I bet he's laughing because he's like, yep, everyone my age says you can't do it. I sure am. So it's definitely possible. So anybody listening or whatever wants to hunt me down, I'm always available for lunch for free, by the way. I'll pay for the lunch. It's going to be like an $8 burrito, but pick my brain and then try to get to where you want to go. And I'll do my best to either help you do it directly, or I'll find someone that can answer your questions, because I love to see that, like kids that want to do. And again, these are kids that want to be legit in their approach to the trades.
Right.
Not talkers, right? There's a lot of talkers, and they're talking forever. It's the same speech. You're like, you still haven't done anything? Like, do you understand at this pace, like, it's not happening. So you need to, like, embrace it and set discipline, have accountability, and just get after it, or it won't work.
We're going to put Heath's contact info down below. If you want to reach out to him, we're going to put your email, I guess, or
my cell number.
Text him. That's so cool, man. If you don't mind me asking, how much is this young man? I mean, how much can you make if you can scale your business? I mean, you said he has a medium-sized business,
right.
2 employees.
I would say if within the tree business, you can make anywhere from net numbers. Who cares about your gross?
Right.
Like gross is like gross. But your net numbers, you can net anywhere from, with a very small little side hustle kind of a thing, anywhere from 50 grand to over 600,000 or 700,000 a year, right? So that's your net.
Big.
Whoa!
Right. That's your net numbers, right?
Oh my God.
So depending on what it is you want to do, like, that's it. So that's up to you. Like, where do you go with that? I'm not at the high end of that, just in case you're wondering. I'm not.
I was wondering.
I won't say where I'm at. I won't say where I'm at. Where I'm at's enough. Like, I literally don't. I obviously want to make money for the challenge. I'd like to make more money, but where I'm at, you need to work really hard to convince me to shift what I'm doing now for what? Like, what carrot are you going to dangle in front of me? Because as far as material crap goes, I love it. I don't want any more material crap. Like, I got enough. I like what I got, but that's not, I have other things. I like doing this. I like, there's other things I want to do. I love my 40, 45 hours, but I have this incredible balance. I just love these other things that I like to do. And I just really enjoy, I'm grateful for my life. And I'm not going to run after that dangled carrot of more money.
Man, you really don't hear that often. You really don't hear that often.
Yeah.
I have enough.
No, it's true because, well, I always believe this. You need to know what it is you want to make. This is, I can't believe we didn't talk about this until now. Like, this should have been in the beginning, by the way. You should, it's just so simple. Try to define what you need and work backwards. That's just so stupid that you say, I need more. No, what does that mean? Why don't you add it up? Ask me. I'll tell you what it costs to live here and have this and whatever we have, right? Let's just do it's all numbers. Let's run the numbers of what it costs to have the thing you think you'd like to have, then work backwards. How much money do you need to make and how long does it take to get there? And if you're in whatever industry, whatever trade, how many jobs do I got to do to get that kind of net? At what percentage off the gross do I need to make? Am I going to end up making? How much do I need to gross, if that's the percentage, to get that lifestyle that I sure would like? It's just numbers, right? And so when you can do the backwards math, then you know what you're dealing with. You know your foe. You know who you're fighting. Other than that, you're inundated with all kinds of inspirational crap on Instagram, and you feel like an idiot because you don't have enough.
Right.
It's not FOMO, fear of missing out. It's the FOBO, fear of a better option. What's all this stuff you guys talk about? There's
another acronym, I'm sure.
There's something out there that describes it so well I can't even think of. And you literally are unhappy because you ain't got more. Like, this is just since the beginning of time, right? Like, literally, Eve and Adam had so much. And if they just had a little more, right?
Right.
So don't fall for the same thing they fell for with the very first sin. And then don't blame. I'm telling you right now, if Eve ate of that fruit in 2024, someone would have said it wasn't her fault. They would have said, it's because she didn't have a human father. It's because, you know what? It's because she's got a disorder. She was addicted to sweet fruit. Don't blame her.
It's not her fault.
It's not her fault. And if she has a little bit of therapy and we could get her on a protocol of this, whatever drug, we're going to get this fixed with Eve. Eve, don't believe all they're telling you. Right? And
Adam, my gosh.
Adam, you as well. Don't blame you. It ain't you. You're good. That's what you'd have heard, right? That's not true. You chose wrong. You will suffer. Like, that's it. Like, it's that simple. So start to ask yourself, where is this voice coming from? It ain't God. It's the enemy. So don't get, there's a verse I love in Hebrews. It says, do not cast away your confidence. It shall be richly rewarded. Okay. So once you roll as like a soldier in the Lord's army, like, dude, Lord, what you got? Then you can carry yourself in not self-confidence, but in confidence, the Lord's got you, right? So that's just a game changer. So then when you get to what I was telling you earlier, when the customers aren't good, you're like, oh, it's part of the plan. When personal life is not good, oh, this must be part of a plan. Like, okay. When things aren't as you want them, you're cool with it. Even when you're crying out of sorrow, it's okay to be full of sorrow. But ultimately, you know you're good because this is part of a master plan. And you need to get in line, you need to learn from it and roll with it. So I definitely got preachy there.
Dude, that was the funniest, one of
I've
the
never
best.
heard that.
That's so good, dude. That is such a
Okay.
clip.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, man. Yeah,
No,
great.
that's probably what happened. So no, don't, because I have this thing. I hate blame. I hate it like with a passion. I hate blame. I hate it so much. And there was
Blaming others, blaming yourself.
Yes.
What do you mean?
blame, right? It's
All of it.
it's like the Christian version of Jocko. I love where Jocko talks about extreme ownership. Okay. What I don't like is if you're in a situation and you put the power to somebody else, is if they would have not done that thing, or if God would have not allowed whatever to happen. Blame is literally blasphemy to God, that he should not have allowed a certain thing to happen, right? That's just next level wrong. So I don't like blame. But then there was a day it hit me, a few days it's hit me, that is one of my shortcomings, that I am like by nature like this blamer. And it's so hypocritical. Maybe that's why I hate it so much. And I realize when I get so frustrated that people aren't doing the things I want them to do, it's like I'm upset because you wouldn't do what I want. I have like a control thing. Like I try to control employees and friends and family. And it's a terrible attribute. But I realize, oh my gosh, like I'm like indirectly, I'm a blamer. So I hate that within myself. I hate it. That's not of the Lord. So anything God is doing to correct that or get that out of me, praise him for doing it. It's painful, right? So ask yourself that, like, are you a blamer? Like, why are you where you're at? Right? You know, it's a thing we've, again, seen on Instagram a bunch. The two guys, one blames his dad for being alcoholic, why he's so successful. The other guy blames his dad why he's sleeping in a park on drugs because his dad was an alcoholic, right? So seriously, like, because there's such freedom in that. Unbelievable freedom when you don't blame. And then you want to go next level. Jocko's great. Well, let's go next level. Let's go to God, right? And when you know, oh my gosh, God's in total control. And if I will just submit to his plan, his will, there's no room for blame in this. And there's actually, this is not sadistic, this thing I'm suffering. There's actually a plan here. Like, this is amazing. That'll give you chills. You're like, oh my gosh, none of this was a waste. Even my own faults, my own shortcomings, God allowed me to do them because he's got a lesson. And Lord, forgive me my sins, but thank you for letting me do them because you had a plan in that. Wow. Because now when I change and I carry myself in a different manner, they'll know it was you because they knew who I was. I was a knucklehead. And now I do this. Wow. I see. Oh, you're going Romans 8:28 and all this. All things work together for good for those who love the Lord. That's what you're doing. And you'll start to understand, like, oh my goodness, I'm living the Christian life. You get so excited. And that's how you can run a business, right? Own it. Feel sorrow over your shortcomings. You did wrong, right? But don't live in that. Don't blame. Move forward. God's in control. Like, it's so basic. Like, basic. This stuff is so, a kid should be able to understand it.
Absolutely. When I think about all my iniquities and bad things that go on, I really picture it as the fire where all the dross comes off to be scraped off.
Right.
And that's all the bad junk that God's trying to get out of me.
Yep.
I think that that's so great. And I also think you're spot on with how when you're annoyed with somebody else's little traits, like maybe they blame too much or whatever it may be, whether you're conscious of it or not, I think a lot of it is because you possess that in some capacity.
Yeah. I'm looking in the mirror.
Absolutely.
And I hate it. I was like,
right.
Mirror, I thought I was good at that. No, I'm a blamer.
Right.
I'm a freaking blamer. Right? So there we go. It's a terrible trait. So Tiago, if you hear me blame when you're with me,
I'll let you know.
punch me in the face.
Yeah. I got
I think he will. That's what I like about Tiago is that he's got like a sweet personality, but he'll tell me what's up.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So no, that's something, and I see how that relates to business, but for sure. Blaming doesn't work. Not going to make money on blame.
Heath, who inspires you?
That's a good question. Who inspires me? Because I don't want to go Christianese on you and say, the Lord.
Yeah.
The Lord.
Jesus.
Obviously, the Lord.
Yeah.
I feel like I've always generated make-believe characters. Like I would generate men that I think probably exist somewhere, but I've never met. And I would generate a man, like I would always picture, I love doing strength training. I would always picture a guy that was stronger than me, that didn't complain like I did about training and was eating better than me, which is easy to find. Like it's easy to find guys stronger than me. I'm not saying that.
Sure.
But then I would make this guy, and this is what I would do. I go, yeah, I know guys like that, and they're idiots. Like they're on steroids and they don't care about the Lord, and they're like not living good lives. They don't. But I'm like, no, this guy that I'm imagining is actually a really good family guy. He's super good to his wife. He's sweet. He doesn't treat her the way I'll treat my wife sometimes, with an attitude or get rude or whatever. So I think I've always generated these people. And then even in work, like I'll find a guy with a bigger company and I'll see that that's cool, how someone can manage so much more than I can manage. So that right there is cool to me. There's different people I'll see like that I think is incredibly cool. But then I'm looking at him like, yeah, he's doing that, but I actually don't want to do what he's doing. So at some point I'm inspired, but I don't want to copy that guy.
Right.
So I don't know. I think it's better to see kind of how the Lord made you, and you kind of know what the ultimate version of you should be based upon what God has blessed you with, and then just generate like this like pseudo person and just see if you could try to emulate and be inspired by that person. Right. And it truly is. It's because if you're honest, like, I'm not going to play basketball. I'm too short. Right. I'm not going to be the world's strongest man. I'm not strong enough. I'm not big enough. Right. I'm not going to be the wealthiest guy because my brain stops at a certain point and I can't deal with the infrastructure it takes. So there's these things I know that I've not been blessed with. There's other things I'm like, actually, I think I do that well. So that's kind of cool. So being honest with yourself and knowing where where you a tick higher in these other areas should be. It's like that fake person. I don't know. That's kind of who would inspire me.
This fake person, it sounds like it's just a better version of yourself.
It is, yeah. And it's an honest version of yourself. That's one thing that's very difficult. I actually love Instagram. I mentioned it a few times. I really enjoy it. I think it gets a bad rap because people want to hate on stuff and blame. But how can you blame spending 15, 20 minutes a day, plus or minus, when you have trained the algorithm to give you a really good feed to be inspired by people that are a little bit better version of you, even if it's fake, okay? That's not their real life. They didn't tell you, maybe they told you how they did a tree job really fast, but they didn't tell you how their wife just left them, right? You don't see it. I don't need to see that. I know that exists. But what I like seeing is that these versions of me, I kind of wish I could realistically attain and not be jealous by it. So I find incredible value with Instagram, or I don't do the other ones, but that's one that I like. I find incredible value through like even texting or other forms of just using your phone because it's just how we communicate now. And a lot of people my age are very disconnect, and they just right away say, what's wrong with you? You're always on your phone. Why don't you just look up? Like, because, hey, old man, I just talked to 3 people because a friend of ours just passed away, and we're setting up a meeting later in this group text, and you wouldn't believe the people that are encouraged right here in this little box. Did you do that 30 years ago? No, things change. Not everything's bad just because it's different, right? So, of course, I'm guilty of that being older than you guys. Like, there's things that's disconnect with me. I don't understand, but I don't know. You really can use your Instagram to generate this fake better version of you. But be honest with you and don't be unrealistic with that person.
Have you ever heard of there'll be a world record set, let's say in a mile time,
right? And
somebody will break the world record that hasn't been broken for years,
right.
And then right after that, 10 people will do it,
right?
Because they're inspired,
right?
I love what you're saying. I've not ever heard that. Is
okay.
To create kind of this inspiration, not wait for somebody else to do it,
Right.
but create it in your own mind and then try to obtain that. I think that that's
Right.
great.
And make this person, like your best you, like, and you know what? That guy or girl might really exist. I don't want to meet him. I did that once to my wife. It was so mean. But she's so much fun to joke with because she'll throw it back at me. But I was talking about a friend of mine, and I said, "Oh my gosh!" And I saw so and so's wife today, like the real person. She's like, "Oh, okay, that's nice." And she knew that this person was like a fitness competitor. Like that was enough, right?
Yeah,
Like, right. So like, yeah, I met so and so's wife today. She's like, "Oh yeah, how'd that go?" I said, I don't know. It's crazy the things she does. Like, what do you mean? I was like, I just know last week she was she does all this volunteer work with Special Olympics, and it's just cool to see what she does. And she actually just got a certificate, and she's going to med school. And it's built up this fake person, and I just kept hammering her with all these things. She's like, "Huh, that's nice, right?" Oh, and then maybe I said something about she's taking care of her ill father. And I'm just joking. This person does not exist, right?
Right.
But no, we had to laugh. But you can generate someone not unrealistic, but someone very realistic to you that is like you in a year,
Mm.
And then you really need to have a 5-year you. Like, I don't know. It's kind of cool. And then realize God's like, tomorrow this is happening. And that whole 1-year you is nothing like you thought. That's okay. Because he was fake anyways. So tomorrow when I get more information, I will kind of tweak my fake me. You know what I'm saying? It's like, because you're honest, because you're in service to the Lord. You're just trying to figure out where you're going to go with him, but you kind of need something to look towards. There's a funny saying I heard once, and it was a kid who was really sick. And he told his mom, he said, "Mom, I just don't feel good." And she's like, "Why don't you just pray that Jesus help you, son?" He's like, "Well, I can pray to Jesus, but right now I just want somebody with skin on." Right? Like, I need you to hug me, Mom, and
Sure.
And that's the thing. It's like, this you can still inspire you, but your bros are like the real ones that like you mastermind with. So, but you will find these versions. So when I mentioned the younger kid that I go to these masterminds, I call it a mastermind. It's not. It's just a bunch of tree guys getting together for crap food. I haven't picked the restaurant yet, so I'm eating their crap food, right? And they're gonna hear this, and now I'm busted because they're like, "Crap, huh?" Anyways, sorry guys, but I eat their crap food, and then but I love their company. It's worth eating the crap food, because I will get so much on what they're doing better than me. I'm like, now I'm competitive. Like, I think I actually want to do that thing. So there are people with skin on that actually I'm inspired by, but not for the most part. It's a fake me.
I have a question, but it's back way on another topic.
Take it back.
So back to that 18-year-old who wants to start this business, and you mentioned a lot about machines and equipment, and do you need a lot of capital to start this industry, or can you actually just start with a chainsaw and a truck and kind of work your way up and buy machines as needed, or you need these machines to start?
No, you do not need a lot of capital. You could start with a truck, and you could start with a truck and a trailer, not even a dump trailer. And I started with a Ford Ranger short bed, right? And then I got so excited the day I thought, wait a minute, if I put sticks on the side, I can carry more. How much are you carrying in a Ford Ranger with sticks on the side? And then I graduated to an F-150, and I thought I was a king, right? And then I built sides for that, and I would stack the branches in there, and I would climb up on top, and I would cut them over and over with a chainsaw to get them to fall down, right? And then I graduated to get one of those Isuzu dump trucks. I was able to get a loan at the bank because I worked so hard at these other things, buying used equipment, working very hard, that I was able to get a loan to buy one of those used Isuzu truck. And then from that, same thing, didn't have a chipper yet, would throw branches in the back and cut them up with a chainsaw to make them drop. And then it just kept growing from there. And then I bought, at the time, the bucket truck I bought was like 40 years old. It was so old, right? It was terrible, so unsafe. And I used a couple jobs and just sold it for a loss. And then I bought another very old bucket truck, very old. I mean, it was so unsafe. The way it would just like move. When you stopped the the controls, it was still moving because all the bushings were so worn out, right? So I've been through so many years of really old equipment that's why if I start to think about it, in fact, just thinking about it right now, when I think about people who are entitled, who think that I need to give them more or do more, whether it's my own kids or a friend or whatever, like, I mean, that's not fair. You need to give me more. No. Why don't you, where were you? Remember when God started going to Job's friends? He's like, well, where were you when I set the foundations of the earth, right? You don't know what's going on. That's how I feel with these younger kids. Maybe I've inspired you a little bit to get after it, get going. But bro, you better be willing to work hard and grind. That's a barrier to entry, especially if you ain't got no daddy money, right? Get after it and grind. Because if I start thinking about, like, now you got me just like, not pissed, but now I'm getting like animated, right? When I think about how many things I did and my wife would suffer and do just to keep growing things and not sure where the next job was coming from. Like, I remember getting so excited to get a job that I did over a canal in the winter cutting Florida holly. And I remember cutting all the branches and I was just dumb. And I let the stuff fall in the water on purpose. And then I went and got it out, climbed in this dirty canal and handed her the branches because I didn't think of a system like we do now with pole saws and ropes. I just didn't know. And I was so happy that her and I went out and made $500 in a day and was soaking wet in a canal on a cold day. And there's times she's come with me and had like bloody hands from calluses. Like, that's my wife, right?
That's awesome.
But we were so happy to do that. Or one time I still had a lawn service at the time. I was doing lawns and trees. That's what I mean. Don't just burn the boats and do just trees. I was transitioning by getting out of a lawn service, and I asked her to come help spray weeds with me. We got so inundated with mosquitoes. We were covered with mosquitoes trying to spray this property with Roundup, right? So I'm like, where were you, you little brats, when we were doing all these things? We had one car, right? And looking for rides and trying to afford and getting furniture and getting the no interest for 3 years type things. Like, we did all that for years, right? And then when I started having kids, one thing that was really tough, we would get a hurricane, work really hard for 3 months. Then I got no work for 2 years. And you're trying to take care of your kids and you're trying to like pay for school, pay for their needs. And it's just not that easy because you want to make sure I still was committed. I want to be home with my kids doing stuff, right? And so I started to do a lot better in the last 4 or 5 years, whatever it is. But up until then, it's a long grind, right? Now, I didn't have access to people like myself as much as I would have liked. That's why if you want to go to lunch with me, let's go. But it's still going to be a long, long grind. But that's good because it's going to keep a lot of people quitting. So, did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
You just need a pickup truck and a chainsaw to start. Basically.
You could. You really could do it.
And now I look at your truck that you just drove up in, and
Right.
it's impressive. I don't even know what it is, but we're going to show it on the screen right here. My God. Oh, my goodness.
It says this guy is incredibly insecure. What is he trying to prove? Yes, go ahead. Make your jokes. He's compensating for something. I've heard it. But actually, that right there is one of the coolest things I did. That's called guerrilla marketing. So there was a time 25 years ago, you had to get a yellow page ad. If you wanted to be somebody, you got a yellow page ad.
Ooh.
All right. And they were expensive. And at the time, I'm like, I don't like being part of the system. So I got a F-350 at the time. I jacked it sky high and put Allison Tree on the side. And I've been driving a truck like that, a big lifted truck now for 25 years within the same circle. So whether you like trucks or not, you probably have seen the truck, right? And that I would rather do that. I thought, you know what? I'm going to take my advertising budget and I'm going to have fun with it. So I have I have some ideas now that I want to do things with, and it's all guerrilla marketing. And Tiago knows I don't do any real marketing, or I'm not pumping money into SEO, right?
Right.
But with a good reputation, people still find you. There's a really good saying I heard from a preacher once: if you're good, we will find you. And it's true. So if you're really good, we'll find you. If you get really good at this podcasting thing, don't worry. People will find you. They'll be hunting you down, and you'll name your price, right?
I've been getting hunted down on LinkedIn so much this past 3 months that it's becoming scary.
Okay.
It's like insane.
But with good leads. Because
Right. That's what I fear, is that they're scammers, or that it's not real people. How do you?
if you're in business, a good lead translates into profit. Period. That's it.
All right.
So if you're profiting from this, they're good leads. If you're not, it could just be a friend. Big difference. So yeah, that's a good business lead, because there's a profit.
So you would say that truck is a big lead generator.
Lead generator for sure. And I actually think, here I go giving away secrets. I think because there's such a flood in the market of trying to find some way to do SEO. That's why even with this here, I don't feel like this is going to generate much work for me. This is more of a personal thing I want done to talk to a few people, right? If 30 people watch this, I win, right? Because I don't see this as generating much tree work for me. That's not the way I'm rolling, because everyone's trying to do this because you're going to get tree work. Why don't you post this? I'll do a little bit of that. Maybe Tiago's going to help me with it, but come on. What I really need to do is I like getting your attention, like face to face, eye to eye, neighbor saying, call this guy. Now we're talking. So I think that is, it's undervalued, and it's actually way more fun to pursue that. It's not fast though. It's a slow crawl. So it needs to be a component of your business. But if you're that young 18-year-old and you're getting going, you're going to have to take some more superficial attempts at generating leads. The leads aren't going to be as good, but you got to do it. What it is, you're trying to prove to yourself that you're a good electrician, tree man, plumber, whatever. And you don't prove it unless you do it.
Right.
I struggled with that for a long time. I was like, why? I put my name out on so many things. I have a lawn service and I cut trees, and I told them, and I just showed up. They had all their trees done. Don't they trust me? They didn't. They've been using another tree guy forever. And you know what? A lot of times they were right, because I wasn't as good as that guy, So I'm okay with that. As you get gray hair, like, people will believe you more because maybe he's telling the truth. He's been doing it so long. But no, it takes a while to generate a really good reputation.
Heath, I think we will wrap it up here soon, but I want to ask you, if you were 18, if you could talk to your 18-year-old self,
right,
what would you tell him?
The one thing I usually say I would change is I wish I worked for other tree companies or any other company, and I didn't. I've always been self-employed. Only had 2 jobs my whole life. Publix for about 2 or 3 months at age 13 or 14. I was like, nope. And I worked for like this pool company for a couple months. I was like, I can't take this. My entire life, I've had either some side hustle, been self-employed. I think that is a mistake. I should have worked for someone and learned their system. And I think I would have been run much more efficiently and had much more vision and understanding how a business should run, because I've had figure a lot of stuff out. Mind you, I come from an age of like the encyclopedia. You couldn't Google stuff. It's hard to reach out to people. So that was a big mistake. Not big mistake, but I would change that. I would tell myself, hey, go get a job for somebody else. Find a really good, high quality tree company. Because what it is, you're taking a step backwards and making money so that your future self in 7 years is killing it.
Right.
More than if you just track on your own to your future self in 7 years. Like, you literally, if it's a race from here till 7 years, go ahead and work for someone a little bit. I think I said this earlier today. It was Abraham Lincoln said, if I had to cut a tree down and I only had 4 hours, I would spend the first 3.5 hours sharpening my axe. And that's kind of the same kind of thinking. Is go work for someone, take a step back, pick their brain, go work for another one, pick their brain. And even if you take a job at a company that you don't even like their industry, but you hear they're run so well, like, it makes me want to go work for that dermatologist, right?
Right.
I feel like I could be one of the girls in the office, right? I really could. But no, something like that where you really have really picked up some good things, hands-on with someone, and then make your exit. You may find out you have such a good relationship, that person will actually partner with you because they do want to scale, and you'll be part of their scaling process. So you never know what'll turn up.
That's awesome. All right, Heath, thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Pleasure.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the TLT Movement podcast. If you liked what you heard, maybe it will bring somebody else in your life value too. So please share with a friend, subscribe to our YouTube, and comment and let us know what you think. Our podcast is available on Spotify and Apple, and we would very much appreciate a 5-star review, or visit our site, tltmovement.com.